Hey there guys, how are we doing? Glenn here from the Beardyman Craft Beer channel. Thanks very much and cheers for joining me once again on another homebrew episode. Now, today in Ireland, it's a momentous day. It's Good Friday, the bars are open and the off licenses are selling alcohol. Fabulous. What makes it momentous for me though is I'm going to be brewing this bad boy. This is Omnipollo's 421. It's part of their Magic Numbers series. And this beer is epic. It's absolutely fantastic. Why? It's a double raspberry and vanilla smoothie IPA. Yeah, you heard me correctly, smoothie IPA. And I'm going to be doing a clone of it. This episode is going to be a grain to glass, like my last one, the new American Pilsner, which went down very well. I had a few friends come over probably a month after the video, and they tried it and they really enjoyed that. So I'm hoping I do this one proud as well. I can't wait. I'm so excited about this one, guys. I really am. I'll shut up talking about how great the beer is and we'll take a look now at the recipe details. So the batch size on this one is 24 litres. The boil time on this will be 60 minutes. My efficiency here on the Grainfather will be around 75%. My original gravity will be 1.057. My final gravity, all going well, will be 1.012, which will give us an ABV of around 6%. The IBUs on this one, 13.9. And the SRM will be around 6. So now to take a look at some fermentables. We have, to start off with, 3.2 kg of Pilsner Malt. We then have 1 kg of pale wheat malt, and we have 520 grams of flaked oats, or fermentables. Next, we'll have a look at the hops. There's a lot of mosaic pellet hops going into this, guys. A lot of mosaic, more so at the end of the process. We have 31 grams going in during the boil at 10 minutes. We have 79 grams going in at hop stand. And wait for it, we have 236 grams going in for dry hopping. 236 grams for dry hopping, yes. The yeast that I'm using on this one is the Safel S04. It's the dry ale yeast. I'm going to be rehydrating this before we put it into the fermenter. And now to take a look at a few extras. Okay, so we have 480 grams of dextrose, and that will go in during the boil, 60 minutes. We then have 840 grams of lactose. So I have about 1 kg here of lactose. Why am I using the lactose? Well, that's going to give it its creamy, rich, thick character, hence smoothie in the name. We then have our raspberries. I require for this one 1.6 kg of raspberries. Now, I understand that you can use fresh raspberries. I think they might work out a little bit more expensive than the frozen raspberries, or you could use raspberry puree. So I've opted for the frozen raspberries. For one reason, I do know that the flesh of fruit breaks down when you freeze the fruit. And this offers up then maximum extraction of flavors on the raspberries. So yeah, I'm going to be using frozen raspberries, and I got them from Lidl in Ireland. And then the last thing that I'll be adding will be, of course, then the vanilla pods. I will be adding 3 vanilla pods, and I'm just going to slice them down the middle and then add them. When do the vanilla pods and the raspberries go in? They go in just before I dry hop. So guys, without further ado, let's brew.
Let's go!
Okay, so this recipe requires 16.3 litres of strike water. Drop in my grain basket. Check out my previous episode to see how I go about treating my water. Okay, so I've added my strike water. Okay, so the grain, we have 3.2 of Pilsner Malt. We have 1 kg of pale wheat malt. And we have 520 grams of flaked oats. Okay, so my mash temp is reached. It's 66 degrees Celsius. I can now pour in my grain. And I just do this in small batches. Sure it's getting good mixture. That's plenty. Now grab my paddle and just give that a good stirring just to make sure we've no dough balls before I add the remainder of the grain. Okay, so stirring that around again. I just want to make sure that all of that grain comes in contact with the hot water, making sure we've no dough balls, clumps of grain, dry clumps of grain. We need to extract as much of those fermentable sugars, so avoiding dry clumps. Giving that a good mix, cutting through that grain, and just to check that we've, there we go, there's one there, just break that down, mix it in. Any dry clumps, just to make sure they all dispense into that hot water. It's okay. Good mix. That seems good, happy with that. Okay, I can just take away my grain stopper. And then to drop in my top perforated plate and just make sure that that just rests on top of the grain, that it's even. My overflow inlet, and push that down, connects with the perforated plate. Just checking that. Yep. Pop on my lid, grab my recirculation arm, just attach that to the side pipe. Perfect. Start my mash. All good. 75-minute mash, and we'll see how that's looking near the end of the mash. So here is my lactose from the home brew company, and we'll be adding this at the end of the boil. Okay, so 16.5 litres for my sparge water, heating up in there, and I have a little bit more than I need. Cheers 5 Lamps Brewery in Dublin for sending this on. Hopped at 4 different stages of the process for your sins is contradictions abound. At 6.2 ABV, this is packed full of flavour. This dark pale ale is so satisfying, it's sinful. This is a fabulous book from Euan Ferguson, Craft Brew. It has loads of fantastic recipes from some very well-known breweries across the world. Okay, so with 4 minutes to go, check out the clarity on this. It's really cleared up. Looking good, looking good. Okay, tis the mash finished. Nice one. I can now take off the recirculation arm. Off the lid. Grab my handle. Twist and sit. Okay, so we need to sparge now with 16.5 litres sparge water. I can push down my perforated plate to make sure that it's just sitting on the grain bed. And just grab my overflow inlet and just replace that. Okay, so I've been sparging away here for the last while. I'm well over the halfway mark. I'm basically filling up a jug full of sparge water. Pour that in over the grain. Let it soak through. Just move on my meter here. Pour it in over the grain, let it soak, and repeat that process. Okay, so that now completes the sparging process to extract as much of those fermentable sugars from the grain. So I can now advance forward onto our boil. Okay, so once all the sparge water has finished draining, I can move this across and just leave the grain bin to the side. Shite. Get down. Oh. No. Thick. Boil over averted. That was close. Jesus, sweating. Boil reached. That's a bloody what? Okay. So I can now add in my 480 grams of dextrose sugar. Oh, no, it's not. You turn your back on the hop rake for a second and you'll be staring a boil over in the face like a really shitty science experiment. It was lucky I had my Star Sand spray gun to hand. Just give that a stir around. Yeah, that got me into a bit of a sweat, I won't lie. And this should start boiling up into a bit of a frenzy soon enough. Okay, 31 grams of mosaic, 10 minutes left in the boil. Pop those bad boys in and booyah. So you can see here that I'm using a large hop net or hop bag that I ordered from the homebrew company. And I'm using this as my hop spider. So I've essentially just clipped it onto 3 areas on the Grainfather, leaving it an area just there to the left to allow for the extraction of steam. Okay people, so my boil has come to an end. I have 79 grams of mosaic here to add. Throw them in. Click you. And that's the hop stand. I leave that for about 20 minutes. Mix it around a little bit before I chuck the old lid on it. That smells fantastic. The aroma of the mosaic is just unreal. Okay. Now to add the lactose, I have 840 grams of lactose. That's 1. Just mix that in. I'll pop the other bowl on the other side. Okay. And in you go, feck. Okay. Mix that in as well. Okay. What do you think of my rock and roll soundtrack, guys? Want some more music? Okay. So just sanitizing the wort chiller now for about 20 minutes, just recirculating the beer through it. Want to wash my bucket with VWP. Just a spoonful of this to a gallon. Pop you in there. Give that a good old shake, 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 yeah. So after a good rinse of the bucket, I can now throw in my bits and pieces and pour in my Star San. I want to sanitize it now. Yeah, should be enough. Again, good old shake. Just needs the contact, that's all. Okay, so I have my sanitized hop net. I just need to pull over the two handles over the edge of the bucket. And just fix that in place. Yeah. Got my spoon. Okay, so I'm now pumping cold water through the counter wort chiller. So the wort line should now be coming out cold, and that's measuring 19 degrees Celsius. Alrighty-o, so that's my wort going into my fermenter. I better sort out my yeast, going to rehydrate it. Boiled water, cooled down to 35 degrees Celsius. I then take my yeast, which has been in the fridge and has warmed up to room temperature. Sanitize my scissors, sanitize the top of the yeast pack. Take my scissors, snip off the top. Pour that now into the cup of water. This is, as I said, this water was boiled, brought down to 35 degrees Celsius. Sorry, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Just literally pour it in on top, so it's just resting on the top of the water. Get as much of the packet out. Take your tin foil, spray that with some, I'll just show you that there. That's just resting on the top. Spray the tin foil with some Star San and then just leave it around the cup for 10 minutes. Let it rest for 10 minutes. I'll set my timer for 10 minutes because I'd bloody forget that. So that's my 10 minutes. I said earlier on 35 degrees Celsius. It's in between 35 degrees Celsius and 40 degrees Celsius. Just take my sanitized spoon. I'm mixing this around now into a slurry. Give it a good mix. Just make sure that, like earlier on, no dough balls. Oh, yeast dough balls. Can now remove my hop net. Let it drain. Booyah. So just giving the wort as much aeration as possible. Just jabbing it with the plastic paddle as much as possible. Okay. Those my yeasty boys. On goes the old airlock. Almost there, lads. Fermentation fridge. So the STC 1000 thermometer pops into a bit of aerofoam. Stick that onto the side of fermenter with a bit of brown tape. A little bit more. That's looking good. And then set this to 18. Yep. It'll heat up to 18. Okay, so I'm going to leave that now for the next 2 weeks to ferment. What I want to do now is talk to you a little bit about the costs associated with this particular recipe and the ingredients. We'll go inside for that, it's a bit cold. Let's take a look at a few costs associated with this particular recipe. Now here in Ireland, I use the homebrew company for all my homebrew essentials. And what's great with homebrew company is they have what's called a custom mash kit build. They have one for dry yeast, which is €22.50, and they have one for liquid yeast, which is €26. Those prices as I'm from March 2018. Now that includes up to 8 kg for your malt, 160 for your hops. It will include either your dry yeast or your liquid yeast, and it will include a wort flock tablet as well, which is great. Now, normally I would get the mash kit and that would cover everything that I need for a particular brew day. However, with Omnipollo's 421, that is not the case. As you know by now, there's a lot of other ingredients that need to go into it. So obviously the price is going to build up. Now with the mash kits, it'll cover you up to about 23-24 litres, which will give an average price of about 56 cents per pint. Okay, so that's the 2 mash kits. In addition to the mash kit, now remember, I required 350 grams almost of hops, mosaic hops. So that left me requiring 190 grams, so I purchased 2 100 gram packs of mosaic hops in addition to the custom mash build, and that cost me €12. Then we are looking at 840 grams of lactose, so I needed 2 by 500 gram bags, which cost €5.90. Then the dextrose, we needed 480 grams of dextrose, so that was 1 bag of 500 grams, and that was €1.20. The raspberries, I required 1.6 kg of raspberries, so in Lidl, I was able to pick up 4 bags. They were the 500 gram bags, and that all came to €6.40. Then the vanilla pods. Who would have thought vanilla pods were as expensive as they are? Well, I certainly didn't. I was baiting my way into Tesco thinking that I'd pick up vanilla pods for like 30 or 20 cents. €4 for 2 vanilla pods, and I think with this recipe I'm going to keep it at 2 vanilla pods because I don't want an overpowering of vanilla. I'm not the biggest fan of vanilla flavors. It's alright, but I don't want it overpowering in this recipe. The total here comes to €52. €52. I better not tell herself. Oh, that I'm doing a brew day on Saturday.
All right, oh yeah, that's fine.
€52 that all comes to. That would be around £45.40 British sterling, and $64 US dollars. So you can see it's quite expensive, €52 compared to what I spoke about at the very start, which is my standard $22.50. So yeah. Right, so the beer has been fermenting up in the fermentation fridge in the shed for the last 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take in the fermenter. I'm going to take off a sample just to check, first of all, my hydrometer reading, just to make sure that we are at where we should be at this phase. Then I have a secondary bucket for my secondary fermentation. I've basically sanitized this bucket, washed and sanitized the bucket, and I'm going to be adding my 1.6 kgs of frozen raspberries. Okay, they've defrosted a little bit, but I'm basically going to add those raspberries to the bucket, and just to make sure that they've broken down a little bit. Then I'm basically going to rack the beer on top of that, put on the lid, put it back into the fermentation fridge and leave it for about 2 days. Take it back out, add my dry hops, and then leave it for about 5 days. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to grab this bucket and I'm going to basically rack the beer on top of it. Back in a sec. So I've chucked in my 2 vanilla pods and I'm just racking the beer in over the raspberries now. That's looking nice and clear. So that's filling up nice and fast. Okay. Right, so we're finished there. I can take out that tube. Great smell. Wow. Oh, go. Okay, so this is my blow off tube. These raspberries can react, so I need this. I'll show you in the shed. So this is my blow off tube that leads down to this jug of Star San, just in case those raspberries react. Okay, dry hopping time. Sanitize my bowl. And we have 236 grams of mosaic. Woo! Look, Toby. Literally just lob them into the fermenter. Okay, so I have finished fermentation. I have added my raspberries, I've added my vanilla pods, and I have dry hopped, and I've left that for 5 days. Now is the day that I open that fermenter, I take out a sample, and I taste it for the very first time. I'm very excited about this moment. So what I'll do now is, I'll go up to the fermentation chamber, and I'll take off a sample, and we'll take it from there. I'm going to do a hydrometer reading, and I'm also going to obviously taste it to see where we're at. Give us one moment. There she is. Okay. She's looking good. A little bit on the pink side. Wasn't quite expecting that, but look, that's absolutely fine. What's important now is that the hydrometer reading is up, or it's down where it should be, and that it tastes great. So let me try this now for the very first time. Oh my God. Oh yeah. That is fabulous. That is absolutely fabulous. The aroma from when I opened the fermenter was just unbelievable. Those mosaic hops absolutely blasted me in the face, and even the aroma that I'm getting from it right now is just amazing. The taste profile and sensation from that is intense. It's fantastic. It's a bit green, it's a little bit bitter, but where it's at the moment, I'm absolutely delighted. I'm feckin' chuffed with that, chuffed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bottle it. I'm going to condition it then for about 5 days. And I'm obviously going to prime it as well with some dextrose, probably about 150 grams of dextrose for the 24 litres, and see how we go from there. I'll taste it then, properly taste it from one of the bottles. But right this moment, fabulous. Okay guys, here it is. My clone is now completely ready to drink. What a glorious day it is here in the sunny southeast. It has poised itself well for the tasting of my beer. I've named this beer Opus 40, paying homage to Mercury Rev. I have my beers set up here. I'm going to choose one. So here goes. Good sound. Yeah, nice smoke there from the top. Oh, ha, ha. Okay, that smells great. Now for the big pour. Nice fluffy white head in that. Nice colour actually. I wasn't quite expecting the, okay, it's a pinky red, so we're not too bad. Looking good. Nice carbonation there. Yeah. Lovely aroma there now from the, what I'm getting straight away is a smack of mosaic hops. It's not as intense or strong as when I tasted it from the fermenter, but it's certainly there. Raspberry, absolutely. Vanilla, I went with 2 vanilla pods. Maybe I could have gone with 3. I'm not ready to try it. Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I really like that. Okay, so I'm getting a lot more now of the mosaic followed by the raspberry. Not so much vanilla, but all in all, it's a really nice drink, a really nice drink. So very happy with the outcome of it. That's really it. It's down to this. So guys, if you like the video, please subscribe and follow me for more very soon. Thanks for watching. I'll go off and enjoy the rest of this. You. Let's go!